friend was doing, oh my God. And I was like, I don't give a shit. It's going to rot in my attic. You think like my future daughter-in-laws are going to want to wear the same style from 2007? No, just take it. It's fine.
See, that's an example of SI only serving your NI and never the other way around. It's like it doesn't serve your NI for you to be attached to objects. Kimberly, on the other hand, is crazily, strangely crazily attached to objects. For example, what happened last night? We have this coffee table. Now, it's a coffee table top that Cameron helped us one day put a bottom on. So it's really sturdy as hell. He's an ISTJ, and the ISTJs definitely have their advantages as people in your lives.
Yeah.
Anyway, we don't want the table anymore, and she wants to sell it. But anyway, what happened was yesterday I was using it potentially as part of my makeshift construction for this pond thing that I'm putting in, which has got like multiple levels, and I kind of got to shroud the scaffolding upon which I'm building it. But anyway, I was thinking about using that table as part of that scaffolding, and she was really upset because I was going to destroy that table with the pond. I said, "But what are you? All that table's been done for the last however many months is move from storage spot to storage spot because we don't know what the fuck to do with it. You keep saying you're going to sell it, but you never do." And she's like, "But I don't want you to ruin it." And I said, "But why? You don't even want to keep it." And she's like, "But I don't want to see it ruined." And I said, "But what about your feelings for me? I mean, I would like to use the table, and you seem to care more about the table than me."
You probably literally in that instance did care more about the table than you.
Well, yeah, that's probably true. She probably had to reflect on it a bit. Yeah, I'm sure that once she reflects on it a bit, she sort of has a different perspective, but she's not used to framing things like that.
Right. So now, did the table have, like, was it vintage or did it have some historic significance?
No, it's a nice solid coffee table. It's a nice solid heavy coffee table, which is why it would work well for my construction, But
the things you care about are like if it has some kind of, I don't know, like like a historical significance, like it might serve as an example to future generations as being, whatever, a commonly used, like a typical in a 1950s household or something. Like, I want to preserve that kind of stuff.
Speaking of that kind of stuff, I came up on some shit yesterday in a estate sale. I've been sort of thinking I'm going to pick up, like, fancy-looking books to put on the shelf here so that I'll have fanciness in the background.
I'd love it.
And old-looking books, too. So, anyway, I got this for that purpose mostly yesterday. It's called Pilots Also Pray. Oh. But I noticed that it was signed by the author here, best regards, Tom Harmon. And I looked at it, and it's a first edition from 1944. And it also turned out that Tom Harmon is a former Heisman Trophy winner from Michigan, and he's the father of actor Mark Harmon. And this book is worth like at least $100. I only paid $2 for it.
Are you kidding?
No, I'm not kidding.
That is awesome.
Yeah, so I'm going to probably sell it, but
yeah.
I looked it up on the internet when I got it home, and at least $100. I mean, there is a record of somebody else having a signed copy, and it looks very similar to mine. And the unsigned copies are over $100. So I don't know. I guess it's a collectible book. That's awesome. That's a pretty cool come up for the yard sale. The other ones aren't. The other book I got, which was really cool, which isn't really worth very much, but I looked it up too. But it's this thing called Minute Biographies.
Oh.
And it's full of of shit like this. It's like some famous person and then their whole life story with pictures.
Now, are these the author did those for the book? That's not like found.
No, yeah, that's what the whole point of this book. It's from 1931, and it says in the foreword, Henry Ward Beecher once said, biography is the home aspect of history. Biography brings to each one of us, however humble and obscure, the things we should know about the great who have gone before. To remain ignorant of the high lights of those lives which have left much indelible impressions on the history of the world, or to permit our children to remain in ignorance of them, is to deprive ourselves and them of that heritage these great men and women have left to us.
What type do you think he was?
The guy who wrote that? SITE? Somewhere in there. SITE or TESI? That's what I think. Like, I don't even know who most of these people are. Who's Luther Burbank? Have you ever heard of Luther Burbank before?
The founder of the city, Burbank, and the port.
Is he? He's the founder of Burbank, California?
I don't know.
Let's see. He was 26 when he set out to California. Maybe it was named after him. He died in 1926, and he was known for his many advancements in horticulture.
Huh.
Yeah.
I wonder.
I mean, the thing is, we don't really celebrate our history's prominent horticulturalists like we used to. It's something that concerns me.
True. Maybe we should start that style of book for just horticulturalists.
They have Jefferson Davis in here. Let's see what it says. It's pretty positive, I bet. Davis was a thin, erect man, over 6 feet tall, a fine speaker, and the soul of courtesy. A West Point grad, he fought bravely during the Mexican War, and on one occasion saved the American forces from defeat. He left the army because of ill health and became a cotton planter. His own slaves considered, I guess it's supposed to say, his own slaves governed themselves and were happy, well fed, and so he could not see any evils in slavery. That's quite. They're really absolving him of responsibility there.
Oh wow, that's I mean that's a cognitive stretch. It's fine. Appreciate the backbends down there.
The golden-tongued champion of Greek freedom, Demosthenes.
Oh, Demosthenes.
Yeah, he's the golden-tongued champion of Greek freedom.
A little bit of a resemblance there, Eric.
Maybe. Demosthenes was 7 when his father died. Cheated of his inheritance by his guardians, he studied law. In order to make a finished speaker of himself, he practiced a series of rigorous exercises such as declaiming while running uphill with his mouth full of pebbles.
I mean, that's the sort of shit I tell my kids not to do. That's when I'm like...
Okay. You're cutting out. You cut out. I just want to say, to declaim, there's a speech event called declamation, which is basically to give an oratory speech that's been given before, to practice somebody else's old speech. It's not a verb you hear very often anymore, In this book, they tell us that his exercises included declaiming while running uphill with his mouth full of pebbles. That's I mean, as a debate coach, we have pen drills in debate where you tell kids put the pen in their mouth like this, and then they speak their speech out with that. But that's just silly. That is just absolutely silly.
And it sounds like one of the, very first Greek Olympic games.
Yeah, it does. It's like, okay, everybody naked? Alright, great. Now, we're all gonna run up this hill with our mouth full of rocks doing the Gettysburg Address. Okay? Four scores. Listen, I can't hear the four scores.
Well, it makes about as much sense as like shot put or any of the other bizarre.
Right, it does actually. Okay, what they want another event? They want something else?
All right, yeah. Hold a boulder by and spin around in a circle and huck it.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Okay, somebody come up with something. I don't know. Throw a rock. Okay, good. Let's go with that. Everybody get a rock. Let's have everybody just throw it. See who throws it the farthest. That's all we can come up with.
Can you imagine? Oh, that's so good. The first Olympics must have been like a family reunion where you do the egg race. You put a spoon.
Right.
The three-legged race.
The Olympics started out obviously in a state of extreme gaiety, right? First of all, everybody's naked for some reason. It's like, yeah. Why are we all taking off our clothes to do sports?
I mean, why wear at all?
Well, I mean,
Mediterranean climate,
sunburn.
Everyone has sufficient melanin, don't you think? I think everyone had sufficient.
Oh, you can never have enough melanin. You can never have enough. There's no such thing as
arguable.
Okay, listen to this. This is interesting. The Russian emancipator, Lenin. This is 1931, remember?
Oh, wow.
Vladimir Lenin spent his early years studying law and the works of Karl Marx, the great socialist. He wrote newspaper articles and carried on propaganda for the liberation of the working class. As a result, at 26, he was exiled to Siberia for 3 years. At the same time, his older brother was executed for attempting to kill Tsar Alexander III. Living outside of Russia from 1907 to 1917, he nevertheless organized the Bolshevik Party after a study of the evils of the proletariat system all over the world. When the Tsar was overthrown in 1917, Lenin went to Russia. Despite fierce opposition, he led the peasants and workers to freedom and became the founder and dictator of the Soviet Republic. He set out to develop the industries of Russia, but the long years of hard work had at last begun to tell. His death was mourned by millions, and the name of the city of Petrograd was changed to Leningrad in his honor.
Yeah, I mean, those are the days when dictator was a positive term.
Well, it certainly wasn't it didn't seem to run afoul of him leading them to freedom.
I studied Russian history and Russian arts as a freshman in college, and it was fascinating as hell. The original idea, Lenin's original ideas, and sort of the artistic movements that he funded heavily, and kind of the underlying philosophies of it all. And it's really fascinating to see kind of the kind of positive spin or the original intentions behind the movement were really fascinating.
I had this poster. I gave it to Mark that I got when I went to Russia. I went to Moscow and St. Petersburg in not that long after they uncommunisted.
Really?
Yeah, and I got this poster that is an old communist or Soviet propaganda poster, I guess. It's not really propaganda. It's for a school classroom, and it says, if you translate it, it says, school children, protect your textbooks. Your young comrades will need them in the coming school year. And it shows these kids in desks, and one of them is raising their hand and stuff.
Yeah, funding is limited.
So I I've had that because being a teacher, I put it up in my classroom for a while. Thought it was funny.
Yeah. 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 I mean, it's just some of the there's just kind of really shockingly innovative ideas that came out of that era, like the idea of a proletariat vehicle where everyone would own their own helicopter, like their own tiny little helicopter. And it was like a government concept, right? Like the state would issue everyone this state created, flying Yugo, and then you would just buzz around, and that would give everyone total autonomy and total equalized freedom of movement, right?
Mm.
And then sort of the ideas for the clothing that would be issued to everyone. So everyone would get like a capsule wardrobe of like a coveralls, a bandana, state issued underwear, state issued socks, state issue, like whatever. But there was no dresses and pants and the same coveralls.
Chicks don't need dresses. That's just the patriarchy. Okay?
I mean, if you want to pee in the woods, a dress is very utilitarian.
That's true.
No.
Do you know Pocahontas was an Indian princess who became an English lady?
Was she transracial as well?
She might have been. Pocahontas was the daughter of a powerful Indian chief, Powhatan. Captain John Smith, the Virginia explorer, was captured one day by Powhatan's warriors. They were about to kill him when Pocahontas, then 13 years old, ran forward, pleaded for him, and saved his life. Pocahontas met John Rolfe, a tobacco planter in Jamestown. He married her and took her to England, where she became the rage of English society. However, the English weather was too much for her, and she died a year later before she could return to her native Virginia.
Cool. Worth it.
Totally worth it. Totally worth it. 1 year in England? Finally, I'm not a savage anymore, she said.
Finally. Typhoid fever is fine. At least, yeah, at least I'm not a savage.
Oh, right. Now, you've probably never heard of Francois Rabelais.
No.
I've never either heard of him. But he's
Tell
the
me.
master of mockery.
Master of mockery.
Mm-hmm.
You can see it in his face.
You can see the mocking eyes, can't you?
Yeah. Okay.
Let's see.
That's if I ever saw one.
Rabelais was brought up, educated, and spent half his life in a monastery. He grew disgusted with the life of a monk and resolved to become a doctor. He wrote medical books, worked in hospitals at Lyons, and became famous as a lecturer on medical subjects. Rabelais wrote Gargantua and Pantagruel, 5 humorous volumes in which he ridiculed and burlesqued the excessive eating and drinking, the schools, the politics, and the religion of his day. He was attacked by the clergy and society alike, but his powerful friends protected him from harm. His name has become an adjective for broad satirical wit.
What? It has not.
Rabelais? I've never even heard that before.
What? We're adding that to the lexicon.
Rabelais. It makes me want to Google it and see if it actually was used as a term. Anyway,
For one here in the 30s.
that concludes today's episode of Minute Biographies.
Thank you for sharing. It was a delight.
I hope we've all learned a lot. Yes, Kimberly's here. I'm going to turn off this recording. I'm going to push the speakers on.